The first lesson I ever got from one of my favorite painting teachers was never to use black directly on the canvas, rather than just using it to mix into other paints. It can end up looking really flat and unrealistic. His suggestion was to always add some brown into your black. You can see here, even just a small amount creates a color that has a much greater sense of depth and space, especially if you were to use it in the background of a painting. But in real life, even the darkest shadows usually have some sort of color, and that color is often the opposite of that object in the light. One of my favorite things is to take two transparent colors that are on opposite sides of the color wheel, like sap green and permanent alizarin crimson, and make a really rich, deep shadow color.
When tomorrow starts without me, and I'm not there to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you wouldn't cry, the way you did today, while thinking of the many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you love me, as much as I love you, and each time that you think of me, I know you'll miss me too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name, and took me by the hand, and said my place was ready in heaven far above, and that I'd have to leave behind all those I dearly love.
We two love of trouble, very seldom always love the devil of the trouble, very seldom always love the devil of the trouble, very seldom always love.
This is a tutorial on how I go about creating a study. To start this painting, I laid down a flat base of colour. I'm using spray paint to do this, but you can just use regular acrylic paint. And then I'm blocking in the form with the transparent mid-tone. I mixed up some cad red, some phthalo blue, and some dioxazine purple to create this colour. Try your best to be very loose and general in this stage, like you don't want anything to be perfect right now, just very general, kind of right, might be wrong shapes. Then start refining the form with the darker colour. As you can see, I'm adding a little bit more blue to that mix to create sort of a chromatic black look. Now that the features are a little bit more accurate, this is where you can start to see the piece really come to life by adding opaques. Pay really close attention to your reference photo in this stage. You can go back and glaze again, but I would highly recommend that you go from dark to light, but you can always like mix and match. I always do. Like, it's not as streamlined, but just try to have as much fun because that's what a study is all about. There are so many ways you can go about doing a study. You can experiment with processes, materials, subject matter. A good thing to think about while you're doing them is, am I enjoying this? Am I having a good time? Is this a potential direction? I got a little bit too in the zone while I was doing this one and forgot to record the last bit, but you can see that really bright, vibrant red, and that is just fluorescent red Posca pen. Creating regular studies is a fantastic way to be a little bit more expressive in your work, to pursue a little bit more authenticity because it's driven by fun, exploration, and play, and what could be better than that in your practice?
Here are 5 painting mistakes. Number 1, this actually happens really often. Please switch to a larger brush if you're painting a big space. Number 2, this doesn't mean that you can't use any colors straight from the tube, but definitely learn how to mix because so many possibilities will open up when you do. Number 3, using different colored backgrounds changes the context of a color, and it can really help enrich atmosphere and improve creativity. Number 4, if you just use the basic materials to paint on, you might not realize that you really enjoy painting on vases or masks or llamas or pieces of wood. Number 5, not spraying pencil sketches before painting on them. Sometimes paint can rub off the pencil and muddy the colors, so try to spray them with fixative first. Hope this helped you guys, and happy painting!
Hi, I had so many people ask for a tutorial, so here it is. Start out with your colors. You want to go in with your dark sky color and blend in with some white, and then add your sunset color and start blending all of that while it's still wet so it blends nicely. Then go in with some colors of the sky to make your water. You want to go in with some dark colors so it looks, a little realistic. And then add in some shadows all over the place, kind of go crazy. Then add in some lighter colors underneath those shadows to try and blend it out. And then begin adding some of the sky color because you want it to look like a reflection, right? At this point, it's kind of trial and error. You just want to go where you think it would look right. At least that's what I do. And then, of course, go in with your sun or moon and then start adding lots and lots of highlights. As you can see, I added a lot of whites and lighter colors and sparkles because you want our ocean to look like the sun is reflecting on it or the moon. And then there's your sparkles and you're done.
Here's a grass painting tutorial.
Everybody, so I seem to be getting a lot of questions about my underpaintings, so here are a few answers to your most commonly asked questions. First of all, what I use to do these underpaintings is just a mixture of mineral spirits and oil paint. The reason that I do this is because I don't like to paint on a pure white background. I like to paint on a neutral background. It's just easier for me to color match. And I find that painting with this orange shade can help bring luminosity to my paintings. Also, sometimes I do just an even wash over the whole canvas. Other times I will add in highlights and shadows, and I do so by using a rag to wipe away some of the paint for highlights and adding more of the mixture to the canvas for shadows. But all in all, it's just really great for blocking in your composition.
I'm your muffin man.
You're my muffin man.
You're my muffin girl.
I'm your muffin girl.
Let's get together and we'll see the muffin world. In a car, in a plane, we can muffin every day. Always forever in our little muffin tray.
You're my muffin man. You paint till golden brown. Two gumdrop buttons and a smile that never frowns. You know me, my name's Susie. Say now, will you marry me? Start out new life together, kids maybe 3.
Here's a tutorial on how I created a still life painting. I'm adding a layer of burnt umber acrylic thinned down with water. This is so I can see the colours correctly and stops the white being too bright. Now I start painting with water-soluble oils, so here you can see me drawing out and measuring it with my paintbrush against a reference photo. After I've done the rough sketch, I start to block in the main colours I can see. I'm not being too precious with it here, and I'm being really expressive with my brush strokes, just to try and keep it messy and loose so I can always change things later on. Keeping the first layers loose and sketchy helps you not get caught up in the details too early. I try to imagine it like I'm looking through an out of focus camera lens, and as I zoom in, I gradually add more detail. With most of my paintings, I like to work from top to bottom, so you can see me starting on the background and working from dark to light. That just helps ensure that nothing is too bright. So when painting things like reflections, working from dark to light is really important for me. So I start off with a black, and then I'll go in with a blue, and then finally I'll add the highlights. I find working like this gives a more realistic effect because I'm not jumping straight in with the bright white highlight too early. So in contrast to when I started the painting, I was using really big square brushes and being really expressive with my brush strokes. But now as I'm getting more detailed, my brushes are a lot smaller and my marks are more considered. For me, less is more when it comes to detail, so I don't get too hung up on painting every single reflection or every single jewel in the ring. Personally, I prefer to give an impression of something. Another tip, if you want straight lines, I often use a metal ruler or a piece of card to help get some really nice crisp lines. So I hope this was helpful, and here is the finished painting. Thanks for watching.